nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Welcome back to The Big Thing, Capes and Cowls. It's the Friday episode, and man, what a week we're having. Quoting the great Eugene Levy from Splash, 1984. So, if you are here, then you know everybody's been talking about Capes and Cowls. You guys are going to have a lot to talk about. I mean, kind of. A lot to talk about. A lot of DC talk. We talked about it a lot this week, but not with the guys. We got so much, and stuff has kind of even developed more so in the last just few days. It was announced on Monday, the DC slate, still confusing as hell. What's part of the timeline, what's not part of the timeline, who's still involved, who's not still involved, and why they hate Henry Cavill so much, like all that stuff. We're still got to figure that out. So what we're going to do is go through all that and more. And they got Batman is also announced, the title was announced, and then there's so many stories that we're going to get into today on Capes and Cowls. But before you do any of it, show a little bit of class, will you? Head on over to the subscription button right there. Look at that. Look, we're moving and we're grooving. You got to get to 70,000. We need you guys to do it. So help us out. Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found. Patreon.com/The Big Thing Show. We have 2 events coming up, man. We got this one on February 13th, 8 p.m. Me and the Dash, Brett Sheridan, are going to be up at doing stand-up comedy on Jake Lewis's show. The discounted link is in the description. And this was announced yesterday. Excited about this one. Myself, Campia, and Greg Alba are going to be doing an Ant-Man Quantumania immediate kind of reaction kind of show for about an hour, just discussing it at Flappers. And in the beginning, we're going to have some stand-up comedy with myself and a few other peeps kind of leading us into the big event that is me, John, and Greg. So, again, those tickets are on sale now. Make sure you check it out. That hopefully will lead to big things going to be going on the road. We're definitely holding already at June 23rd in Manhattan for Big Thing to be in New York. And that's on hold right now. And the goal is that if this show with John and Greg goes well, then we'll probably take that on the road also. So if you're able to get some tickets, do it, man. All right, let's get into it. It's me and it's Coy and Winston. We're all here, everybody. We're going to be doing our show in just a moment as soon as I find the music. I just found it, so let's do it. It's Capes and Cowls. I'm ready. You ready? Cool. Then let's do it. Welcome back, everybody. It's Capes and Cowls. Myself, Coy, Winston A. Marshall, everybody. Welcome back. So we knew it, man. We knew it was coming. We knew it, and he held out until January 31st. He finally did it. We kind of guessed that he was going to do that. You had to be a showman, and it was social media, but it was video, which he did. But it was also, they held this room together of some press, and they on Monday, which kudos to all the press that went. Nobody leaked anything, which is really good. Smart, means they'll be invited back to other things to cover. And then the article started popping at 9 a.m. on Monday, followed quickly by James Gunn's video. What's wrong? What happened? You got gas?
No. I was just thinking about the actual announcement because I just had a lot of other stuff going on that day in particular. So I knew it was coming, but I didn't know what time. So it's like 9:15, and I haven't seen it hit the trend quite yet, even though people are already tweeting about it. And so I'm like, man, here are my hopes and dreams for the announcement today. And then all of a sudden I see somebody about 5 minutes after that go, bro, it's been out for like 30 minutes. And I said, oh. And I immediately went and deleted my tweet before I looked like a jackass.
Hilarious. Yeah, well,
timestamps real embarrassing. It's like,
why? And I knew because I called Winston, I called you. You didn't call anybody back, so it said, I'm
not telling you. I was filming all day.
I don't care. You can call me back. So I didn't tell you what I heard. So you hear about it now.
True. That's real. That's right.
Winston knew. I had heard a couple days ago that this press thing was happening, so I knew it was going to drop really fast. And I tried to get into it. No response. But I tried to get into it.
I called you back the next day. Hold on. Check
Well,
the tape. Please talk.
I'm
You
not.
got to stop taking bets with Kristian. We keep losing.
I didn't bet. I didn't bet. I just said I didn't bet. I was smart enough not to bet.
But either way, no. Because I didn't mean to sound disinterested because I obviously was. I was just at my niece's 11.
No, it was loud. It was loud. Yeah.
I was at my niece's 11-year-old birthday party, and I haven't been to any of her birthday parties.
Outgoing.
When is that? It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday. We're talking about it. It was like 4 days ago. I called you there, Jack.
I didn't call my guess. Guys, time's a flat circle.
Yeah, that's
True detective
yeah,
season.
that was don't show your phone. Don't do that.
Oh, I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous reveal.
I felt I needed justification that I tried. I didn't call back once.
Yeah, right. But the moment it passed.
Is that the
guys.
right one?
No,
Oh, okay.
it doesn't matter. I mean, kind of.
I mean,
it's an offshoot. I get it. I just
today's an imprint.
But look, but nonetheless, it comes out, it drops, and we get some big announcements, and I've kind of gone over this with the audience thus far, so I want you guys to really be the focus on this too. I'll just give you my overall thoughts. Were that the plan in the movies themselves, even the unknown ones, I think are great. They have a plan. I think that they didn't do the full reboot, or they did, maybe, who knows, because the door's still open for certain people to come back, but definitively not Cavill. And there's a lot of, like, with the first couple of the Shazam and Aquaman, and those things are still happening, and that Gunn's video said, well, that kind of goes into our DCU, but it doesn't really connect. It's like, I don't understand that part of it, but the movies themselves seem pretty interesting.
My thought, if the way they're going to do this, because you know how the end of the Infinity Saga, some of these movie releases didn't make sense. So like Ant-Man and the Wasp came before Endgame, after Infinity War, but kind of took place in the middle of Infinity War because then people disappeared. There's a possibility that maybe they kept the slate as far as release dates, just the way that they did. But Flash may reset it, and this is just like, and this is kind of what happened.
Well, he did say that. He said in his video that Flash is going to change stuff.
Confirmed it.
Yeah.
I was surprised they actually said so, succinctly, like, this is the end of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I do think he has to keep selling those 4 movies. And it was really interesting that in that sentence, it was like, really excited about this, and this is coming out. Like, it was an interesting, like, note of dismissiveness for certain things. But I also think it's a matter of James Gunn is a showman that is running a thing that he has to tidy up while launching. So I don't think Aquaman is necessarily as tied in as maybe it needed to be implied, because you need to know that Blue Beetle is going to be part of it, and he made that very clear. And I honestly think they had to reshoot the end of the Flash to make it kind of more Flashpointy, which sounds like they have been doing, because it sounds like they've been on set.
Yeah.
And then Blue Beetle, they probably had to remove some things, add some things, but now they had the benefit of time. I think the reason that release dates didn't shuffle was it allowed them to in-house kind of make it work more than it would have. And then what I think they're going to have to do is acknowledge the fact that this was an old universe in the Flash in some way.
Somehow,
whether or not that means announcing the cast at the end, showing whatever at the end. The only thing that I consider truly messy as of now, without knowing anything, is Aquaman. Because December it's the end of the year, and I feel like it'd be so clean to just like not have something hanging over you after Blue Beetle, because Blue Beetle seems like a starting point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a weird like feeling.
No. I agree with that. I think the other one, and I'm sure we'll get to it. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I saw a report that apparently Gal is officially still remaining as Wonder Woman. Is that not?
That's not. I mean, I haven't seen an official report. I just see the only thing that they said. I think that would have been a bigger story if it was an official thing. I think that they just. I think what I did see, and maybe you're right, but I'll double check. I haven't seen that though. But what I just heard the keeping the door open, and what keeping the door open allows is basically it allows from full blowback.
Yeah.
But it also allows for a lot of the movies to come out, and it also allows there's no definitive no as far as them coming back, because door, and I said it the other day, door open can be, the door's open. We're just not taking any meetings inside that door. You know what I mean?
The other thing that I keep pointing to is like, fine, Cavill is done as far as like that announcement. But if you remember a lot of the stuff that they said, and you don't always want to read into this, because sometimes that's what people say during breakups, just so you don't, you feel a little better. They did mention that it's like, Yeah, that run is over, but we were discussing some future plans and stuff like that. They did say that when they cut Cowls, so there's always a possibility maybe way down the line they have some sort of plan for him.
Maybe, but they were pretty definitive inside of this report that says we're just not moving forward with Henry inside of this one.
Right.
And I think that the thing that's so confusing about that is that they said, well, okay, we're doing Elseworld stuff with everybody else, and the J.J. Abrams Black Superman, that's still in development. That could still happen. We're doing the Batman. We're doing this, but Elseworlds counts for everything except anything with Henry Cavill. It's like, why not? But why not say, well, the door's still open, that maybe he comes back at some point as an Elseworld thing.
I think part of it, but then again, that is the messy part of Aquaman, of the Flash, whether or not Ezra is still a part of it, et cetera, et cetera. The Batman, Joker, a lot of that stuff that has now been labeled official Elseworlds were already Elseworlds. They weren't a part of the DCEU. So
I honestly think they might just, I mean, this sounds cruel, but they might be waiting to close the door until after the movies come out.
I agree.
And so therefore it's more a matter of...
And so we'll assess how well they did.
That one, but also they can't say, because of the internet, especially right now, is saying, like, what's the point of these 4 movies? I think now people know Blue Beetle is something they should commit to.
Right.
But I do think they're going to wait, one, to see how Shazam does, which is tricky right now with it being so soon. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to say anything definitively ever that any of them are gone. Ever.
Yeah,
like, that's not
Yeah,
clean.
because if you do it, you're also hurting the potential for the box office for Aquaman and all that too. But you've got to explain on somehow on how it connects if it's going to, because the thing is, everybody has brought to this point in from the fan base on Aquaman is that the first one made $1 billion. Now, will the second one make $1 billion? I don't know, but it's still, its predecessor did.
Yeah.
So if you're in the office behind, making the decisions for the movie, you're going to go, hey, the first one made $1 billion. Don't say the guy's not coming back again as Aquaman, because maybe we can find a way that he can if we need to make a third one and we need to make it part of the DCU. So say the door's open for now. And if we need to figure out a way to make it into the plan, because what I don't want to do is we make $1 billion and they're like, oh, this guy's gone now.
Yeah.
We had an opportunity to make money.
And they have all of 2024.
Yeah.
If you look at the schedule, though, like 2024 can be when they say yes or no, when they can adjust
and announcing stuff.
And he also was very clear that Superman Legacy is going to be the first big part of this phase launching. So that language was very
clear. That got me my pizza.
Yeah, and there it is. In 2025, that's how the pizza's happening. He said it aloud.
Well, we got it. And the only reason I said that when we were talking about this in the first place, because you went ambitious and said maybe early July 2024, but that was under the assumption of maybe that they either started filming already, they had the Superman cast, and at the time you were not thinking about previs, right? I don't think December 2024 was out of the realm. This just one, and I also understand the reason to guess that,
right?
Is because,
and with launching with it, which
because their contract, Saffron and Gunn, is up in 2025,
right?
So this is we will get an announcement from them before.
I thought it was 5 years. Was it?
It's 3.
It's
only
three.
3
I
years.
thought it was 5.
I thought it was 5 too.
3.
Wow, that's insane.
That's right.
So the plan hasn't even launched, and you're
well. I think they're going to launch TV in 2024. I think that.
Waller,
that is
Peacemaker.
a weird like linchpin to go off of it.
Now with that, if you you're going to put that show. What's the one that he's got?
Waller and Commandos.
Commandos and Waller. Those two could come out because the animated comes out first, then Waller. Then I think Lanterns comes out, because what they said about Lanterns, there's no release date for any of those. The only release date is Superman.
Someone put a graphic together. Maybe it's not.
That was Adam Havlick.
It's a great graphic. Gunn shared it, which means they're historians of DC now, canon.
Yeah, okay. Did he share it?
He did.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's on his story. James Gunn shared and tagged Heroes Reforged.
I love that.
was very proud of them. That's really cool.
That's fantastic.
So they're official, I'm
going to post.
DC
well, then you know what? Let me
Let's
post.
make it official here.
I'm sure that he actually put the
Also, I gotta say, I love Marvel, I love DC, I love Image, I love Boom, I love IDW, I love comic books, but I think that in the last week especially, DC has done more to advertise comic books than Marvel
100%.
has in 15 years. The actual comic books being praised, goddamn, I love it.
All right, so this is he
pinned it. Okay.
Yeah, but Gunn's right there.
Yeah, James Gunn.
No. Of course. Yeah.
So that's okay. So let's see. So James Gunn said we talked a lot about Wonder Woman and Tomorrow, but these are more the comics inspiring DC Studios and the new DCU. That doesn't mean we're adapting all the comics, but that feel, the look of the tone, they are touchstones for our team. Check them out. And then where does he actually go to? I don't know. He said something about.
I mean, if he's genuinely going for All-Star Superman, I wonder if that's what Legacy is.
Yeah, I don't know, but here's let me put the actual graphic up from what Adam made. This is from Adam over at Heroes Reforged. This is the actual thing. Hold on. Here it is. So yeah, he didn't put any dates to it.
Only the ones that I guess that we know.
I mean,
like there's
it's
one
Superman.
under Superman. There's
That's
another. No. There's the ones at the bottom for Elseworlds.
Yeah, Elseworlds is October. It's funny, Joker is October 24, and
right,
Batman's
Batman.
October 25. But they're like literally 1 year apart.
Right,
which is fun.
and then the ones that are left. So Flash, Blue Beetle.
All right. Well, either way, I think that the reason why I say Lanterns can come out before Superman is only because of one thing that was said inside of that, and that was that they said that Lanterns is going to explore the overall kind of thread that is so important in this first whatever phase of or Gods and Monsters, whatever it's called, that it would be silly to me if they put the Superman movie out first,
right,
and then they introduce what the whole big thing is. You know, so I think that they put that, and then what it allows is in 2024, you got a ton of DC stuff.
Yeah.
And then 2025, you only have to have one DCU movie, which is the Superman movie. And then you've got the Batman movie, which is your Elseworlds thing.
Yep, you're
and that's
the
20,
Batman.
and that's 2025. That's 2025. Yeah, and then 2026 will be what's the one that is kind of an unknown one about almost like The Boys.
The Authority.
So the Authority, which we'll talk about in a second, but the Authority I think comes out in 2026. I think in 2020
probably Paradise Lost too.
I think that's 2027. That's the Batman one.
No. Paradise Lost is their mascara game.
Oh, but that's not a movie. That's a TV show.
You're specifically talking movies.
I'm just talking movies.
Okay.
And then, but yes, I agree with you. I think 2025 is probably also 2025, 2026 is probably the Wonder Woman prequel thing. But then it goes the Batman, Robin one, and then Supergirl. I think is
oh wow, you think Supergirl's like 28 or
I think so.
Late 27?
I think so. And I also said, and that was the thing, is because there was who's the girl that's playing Supergirl in The Flash?
Sasha Call, I think her name is.
So I don't know yet, because this is something that I said the other day, because I had said, because I'm on a 1883 kick right now. So have you watched it yet?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm not far. I just started it.
So I think the girl who's like a mini Jennifer Lawrence, right?
Oh, she's so good.
I think she'd be a great Supergirl.
Oh, that's fun.
I think she'd be a phenomenal Supergirl.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's great.
Now people are like, well, what do we already have one? We've got Elliot. I don't know if she's getting recast or not.
I don't know how they're going to handle the Flash.
And I don't know if
we also don't know in the movie that
that's
they
what I mean.
closed that door.
If she fits and she works and she's an awesome Supergirl, then she should stay Supergirl. I'm just saying, if you're going to recast it and you're going to reboot it, she's great.
So wait, who are you talking about?
Isabel May from 1883 is who I've been talking about for a little bit too, and she is so good. She's fantastic on this show, and like I'm about six or seven episodes in. Every single episode, she does something else that I'm like, why isn't this girl in more stuff? And I was like, she looks like, to me, like that picture with Supergirl sitting there with the blade in the back. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying anything against any other actress that has been cast in a role. If she's the one that they wind up going with and she's phenomenal in it, then she should be the Supergirl. I'm just saying, if they're gonna recast, consider her.
I will say, and I don't know if we have a boom segment today because that's usually where I save my comics until, but that Supergirl comic is one I've talked about like nonstop.
Yeah, I heard
for 2
you've been
years.
raving about it.
It's like literally, I struggled with Supergirl because it's a character that I have never been an isolated girl without a family. Like I don't get that as much as I get other characters. But what I love about it is Superman is Superman. Like he's famous, he's a giant, like he's the guy, and she's his cousin that in canon and in reality is kind of like second to him, that feels like ostracized by it. And the whole thing is the story of isolation, but it's cool because they set it in like cosmic space, so it's practically a Star Wars story, and the whole thing is like a vengeance tale, globe-trotting, but defending another innocent. So she doesn't want this innocent girl to kill the person that killed her parents. So she's like, I'll do it myself. So she's willing to murder, but she's not going to let this kid ruin her life by murdering. So it's this giant like space trotting story where she's got this cosmic horse and riding through, and like it's so badass and epic, but it's also more Star Wars than I think we've seen a comic go, because the worlds they visit, the alien structure and all those things. And I think that's a really smart way to introduce Supergirl, where every like weird sexist bigot isn't like, well, I didn't do Superman, because it shows the strength of Supergirl as being not Superman, as a separate thing.
I like.
And it's beautiful. The art is stunning.
I mean, it's also, as Gunn kind of talked about a little bit in the reveal, her origin is so drastically different than Clark's.
Yeah.
Clark sent as a baby, doesn't know any better, literally raised by mom and pop, can't, that's whatever, versus Supergirl dealing with the trauma of being old enough to realize her entire existence has been exterminated. And then the folks that did survive with her dying over time and whatnot. So, like, the psychology of making it to being like a teenager, young 20s, and having that happen and then being thrust into this whole superhero bit versus I've been raised as good since I was before I have memories. So
with love, with comfort. She's on an asteroid alone, and it's an 8-issue series. So it's a great like 1-to-1 adaptation.
That's
and Tom King's writing it. The writer of the comics writing the movie.
See, but that's what I love about what James Gunn is doing right now. And I just did Sith Council the other day, and I was talking about like how I've been, as you guys know, when I talk about Star Wars like that, I just wish they had like this room where they would take people from the novels and then people from the comics and then take screenwriters and put them together in a room and have everybody kind of collectively talk about all the stuff that they can do. And what is James Gunn? He does exactly that, which is brilliant. I mean, and I'm saying that I'm just saying that there's something that you kind of fantasize about that you don't think anybody will actually do, and he did it. And it's like that, being able to do that and be able to take screenwriters from like that have like The Martian, and then you've got Tom King, and it's like this is how you're doing, because he's pulling from stuff. He's not making up his own comic book things.
Right.
He's pulling from source material.
And if you've got experts, use them. And if you've got a boardroom, use them. Like, that's what I don't understand.
Source material.
And there's so many comic writers that are like, hey, I also write movies, and they're like, the studios are like, quiet.
It drives me nuts.
It's insane.
And in Star Wars, it drives me nuts. It's like Claudia Gray should be in the writer's room talking about these stories that she's writing. Like, man, Captain Kennedy, she's just novels.
It doesn't make sense.
Novels. It's like, no. It's like, do like this by taking the actual stories of people who understand the material. And this is what is happening inside of this. So this is the stuff. As much as I say it's a crazy thing, that they have, I don't understand how it all connects and all that. The stuff that we are focusing on, it's very gun-centric, though. Right, but this is the point that I made the other day. If you're a Sam Raimi fan, or you're a Taika, who I think Kalinowski brought this up, and I'll use, if Taika Waititi was announced as like the Star Wars guy, and his whole slate was very Taika-centric, I'd be nervous. So if I'm not and I like Taika Waititi, but an entire Star Wars slate of all of his sensibilities, you'd go, I don't know. But then there's other people who's like, I love Taika, so on. So people who are not James Gunn fanatics are probably going, this is all James Gunn stuff that he loves.
Like Superman, Batman are pretty approachable.
I do agree. I agree with the whole slate. I'm just saying.
Well, there's two things that he did. I mean, I appreciate the fact that he is exploring a number of characters that aren't on the canon. That's the same thing that they brought him in the MCU
Guardians,
with Guardians. So I appreciate him taking those shots. I will agree in the sense that I am a baby bit nervous about how much he is actively like writing and considering not that
is it more than 2?
I thought he said 3.
He's doing Superman. He's doing the animated series.
Yeah, the Commando Corpse Commandos, and Superman. The only 2 I can think of.
I thought he said there was a 3rd one he's writing. It may have been
it the Waller one?
Because I was surprised he wasn't doing Waller, because they announced a showrunner, so I was like, I guess he's not.
Was it Batman?
I don't think he's doing Batman. That'd be like the headline.
So I can't remember who said this yesterday. You guys think Ben Affleck directs that movie?
I think it's an option. I think the conversation we heard. Also, I think Commando's done. So I think now it's like
okay.
But I think he could, because Ben Affleck wanted to direct the Batman that he was going to star in, and I think that was the pitch. I think Ben Affleck, I mean, if you look at his career, he started by directing his brother and was like, I'm not going to put myself in it yet. And then, oh my God,
Gone, Baby Gone.
So incredible. And then he put himself in his next movie and was like, what an incredible performance, and he was able to balance everything. And then he did, the crime ensemble with The Town, and then he got an Oscar nom for Argo. So he's kind of gone like director checkoffs, but he's not done the blockbuster. He's done all of the things that are like Oscar bait and like try these things out. And he did a period piece. Now's the time, I think, for him to be like, okay, I haven't tried what I've been on the set for.
Right.
And if maybe instead of being in it, they kept him on board to direct it, that'd be a way for the fans of Batfleck to feel a little bit vindicated. And he would also feel like he didn't just walk away.
And he had talked about wanting to do a Batman movie and being able to put a darker one too, obviously, with what's the Wayne's kid's name? Damian Wayne. So, and it's funny because when I heard about it initially, this is when I'm like, oh, he had a kid. There's an assassin, Robin. I'm like, well, I'll wait for Winston and Coy or something.
He comes in a very close second. I'll never Shake, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, all that kind of stuff. He's my favorite Robin, but Damian is a close second, and it's exactly that. He so Talia al Ghul, I'm sure you remember her.
No, Mike told me that. Mike gave me a breakdown.
Now.
Yeah,
okay.
I understand. Now I get it.
So, but that's also what's super interesting is because that same level of I'm not going to cross that line fighting the Joker all the time. I mean, all of them, but specifically the Joker. It's now you have a son that was literally trained as an assassin, and you're like, how do I get my son to chill? Like, you know what I mean? And so it just becomes super interesting. Obviously, you had some people that immediately went full fanboy, but like the photo they used for it, they're like, actually
technically as Dick Grayson in the guy.
Grayson is Batman and not Bruce. It's like, yes, okay, idiot, we get it. Like they're just doing that to prove a point, just to show where they're planning on going with that. And also, there's no reason you can't mix and match where you keep maybe the source of Bruce and Damian, but you don't pull some of the storyline that came with Dick because Dick also
the problem.
The kid.
Imagine though, because you got I mean, I can tell you from having a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
That you got chasing around kids in general. You got to get some sleep, and I'm sure that he's using Athletic Greens. I'll tell you that right now. Athletic Greens, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about why I love Athletic Greens. You guys know how much I love Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens every day. You guys know it. I've been talking about it forever, and there's a reason why they're on the shelf. I mean, they're on the shelf for goodness sake. And why did I start taking it? I wanted better gut health. I wanted increased energy, immune system support. I hated taking pills, vitamins, and I wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. And that's what I do. You guys know it. I have that. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw it when I first started taking it. I was like, it's green. It's yummy. Tastes good. You get intimidated at first, but then after you take that sip, you're like, oh, man, they actually made it taste good. And I take AG1 in the morning. I put it in a water bottle, and I shake it up, and I love it. And I do it right before. Now I can do it right before the coffee. It's great. It makes me feel unstoppable. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do it. It's good for sleep quality too, by the way. It really helps with sleep quality. I noticed that right away. And I don't like combining all vitamins, and I've never been really a big vitamin guy. Taking all the supplements and bunch of different things. This makes it easy for you. You just take it in one scoop. Done. It's 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods. It's so good. It's so good, and it's so great. And you guys know for how long I've been talking about it, and I've gotten so many responses from you guys of people who've been trying AG1 and been loving it. And you get it delivered every month. Very easy to make it a daily habit. So if you are looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. You go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. That is athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Check it out today. All right, once again, thank you to our sponsors over at Athletic Greens. Love Athletic Greens. Use that code, man. People are always asking all the time, how do you help the show? That's how you help the show, and you help yourself. So get yourself some athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Continuing into this conversation, and again, I knew it was kind of a little bit more loose today because it's just there's so much happening that it's just I figured we just let the conversation go because it's just so normally we will go through the topics and kind of but we haven't talked about it yet. Yeah, we haven't talked about it. The Superman though is where I want to go back to because Superman I don't think that he's been cast. I think that you still at the time.
I thought at the time, but
I still think so now.
I don't think so, but I do think they've got people in mind. I think they probably had to when firming up the slate as part of the conversation. I think maybe they've even had conversations.
I agree,
but I don't think it's as locked as I thought it was. Because to be honest, when I thought it was, I thought DC was going to be doing less to launch, and then he could focus more on. I thought they were going to go more traditional and go like 1 or 2 things, maybe announce 3, and instead now that they've announced 10, I think it's they're a little spread differently, and it's going to be a longer journey between. Personally,
I would say with a number of these projects coming up in the next 2-ish years, I think we're already in advanced audition talks. Because think about like Tom Holland, that was a year to be Spider-Man. I bet you they're already at stages where they're in like 3rd, 4th rounds of auditions.
They're reading it. He already wrote something for it, so they have sides. Yeah. They have things for people to come in and read. I agree.
I think they're in the process. They don't have it yet, but they've probably narrowed it down to maybe like 15,
I think they have people that they want, and I also think that what it should be is similar to what they did with like Superman Returns and even Man of Steel, right? And that's cast an unknown. Cast someone who looks the part. Cast someone because Superman himself can sell the movie. So you don't need a known actor to do it.
We hardly
cast
put names on things anymore anyway. Like
That's-
the movie star is under the IP most of the time.
Cast Jimmy Olsen is somebody that we know, right? Cast Perry White is someone that we know, right? Lois, I think, should be unknown also. I think
I love that idea.
Pa Kent. You could have Pa and Ma Kent be
That's
like
same what you did for Man of Steel.
Yeah.
You Kevin Costner and that kind of stuff. Like, do it that way. I mean, because but now the flip side of that is, and again, I'm going to ask you a million times until I actually remember. What's the name of the movie again? The one that
Superman Legacy?
No, the one the unknowns. What are they called? The
Authority.
The Authority. I'll get that eventually. But the Authority should be cast with celebrities.
Oh, I think it needs
Is
to.
that Manchester Black?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Manchester Black is in. There was a new Authority Superman crossover, and that was Manchester Black assembling a team. I think they're going to bring that in because that was 2021. That just happened. Beautiful art by Michael Janin.
Yeah.
The thing I like about the Authority is, and this is going to rile some feathers, and I'm sorry, is there is a definite parallel between what Snyder did and what the Authority is. So I think the Authority is a good way to appease Snyder fans while also acknowledging that the more traditional comic book take on these characters isn't as dark. So the Authority is a commentary on DC. It's really interesting that they're bringing it into the DCU because the Authority is written by Wildstorm, which is an imprint of DC, as kind of a commentary on DC. So like two of the leads are Midnighter and Apollo, who basically are Batman and Superman. Sun God Apollo, Midnighter Dark Knight, and they're a couple. So like, you know, when Superman and Batman are boning, it's going to be a very interesting conversation for a lot of the people that don't love that. Right. So I'm excited to see a lot of the more aggressive cultists of that world be like, wait a second, and then have that moment happen and realize what it is. So I want them to cast Henry Cavill's Apollo.
There's no chance.
There's no chance. But can you imagine?
There's no chance.
Just him snogging Ben Affleck, just going at it.
There's no chance. What I will tell you with the Henry Cavill side of it,
Dude, just play and hide the bat pole.
well,
I'm
so
just saying.
by the way, though, with Henry Cavill,
You're my kryptonite.
you should just cast Henry Cavill and Mark Andreyko because Mark Andreyko would be thrilled.
Man, he would not make it to set.
No, he wouldn't. But
Be a tripod every day, just like trying to keep it going. I'm just saying there's going to be a very messy set if that kryptonite comes out. It's very wet. I'm just acknowledging.
just sitting it.
No, you got to take that one, bro. That was poor phrasing. You're going to have to deal with that one, bro.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway, let's jump back if we can to Henry Cavill for a second because there's something you said as far as casting him. If I'm Henry Cavill and DC comes to me, I'm looking him right in the face, like, "Thank you, James Gunn, but stick it up your ass." Is if I'm Henry Cavill because it's not like Henry Cavill's going to have any problem and it's not James Gunn's fault. First of all.
No.
Because James Gunn even said he was dicked around by the previous people. I mean, James Gunn was the one who kind of said that. So this is not a James Gunn thing. But if James Gunn was like, Henry, we've got a place for you. If I'm Henry, I'm going, stick it in your ass. But because the thing is, at that point, Feige, the freaking the Bond, Star Wars. Somebody needs to snatch this guy up quick. Now,
every franchise.
Someone needs to. Yeah. And now the question also is, there's also rumors that he was difficult to work with, and that's why there was rumors going around. I don't know how true it is or not.
Did I hear about that?
No.
It was really oddly
It doesn't seem like.
Well, also the way it was formatted, which is a weird thing to say, but when the leak came out, it was literally like a Word document someone wrote, and then it was never verified beyond that.
So who knows
like,
if it's true?
I was writing a paper, and I was like, I literally saw a screenshot of like a Word doc from like a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I was like, the source is what? And like nothing beyond.
The only look, it's not to say that people don't know how to put on a front for like press and stuff like that,
100%.
but like having interviewed and like met the dude, that seems like the most not accurate thing in the world, especially because when I went in to go get him, his publicist was like, no, we don't have time, we're cutting you. And he goes, no, I want to talk to this dude. Give him 3 minutes. We won't do a full 5 or 10, but give him at least 3 so he can ask me a couple questions. That doesn't seem like
right.
Well, there was never a follow-up either. Like when that rumor came out, I've not heard from anyone that's worked with him.
But like you said, and I don't know the report at all, and it could be complete crap. I'm just to play devil's advocate of that, right? It's like not only could he's great with because like him and he loves Schnepp, like he loves Schnepp, and like he might be just great with the fans. He might be great. His people might be turds. His people might be hard to 100%. Again, I don't know. It could be absolutely complete horse crap too, but nonetheless, it doesn't also. I think the way that it was handled with him in general, if I'm him, I'm going, I don't want to be involved with DC anymore. I
The
did it
fact there
before.
was no contract for Black Adam, it sounds like. Did you hear about that?
No, it just the whole thing was
Apparently, it was like
bizarre.
just like a verbal agreement, and I was like, "That's not how a giant role like that works." You don't go like, "Okay, I'll be Superman. Let's shake on it." Like, apparently, there wasn't stuff locked in.
I don't know
when he came back for that performance.
Well, you watched that interview that he did with Josh Harwitz,
Yeah.
right? And
he's so proud.
He's so proud. And Josh is like, "Welcome back, Superman." He's like, "I'm excited." He's talking about like it was announced basically that he's back because someone told him from maybe that old regime, "You're back."
Yeah.
He was. It's not just a rock.
Yeah.
It's like you can't because then that's Henry Cavill's fault. If the only person he's listened to is The Rock goes, "Well, you're back." Oh, cool, man. It's like you got. I mean, he's
Dwayne's paying everybody $20 to keep the lights on in the set.
He was taking meetings with people who told him, and then the new regime came in, and this is not a James Gunn or Safran fault. This is not their fault at all.
It was way before them,
but it's not their fault. You come in, and we said this the first thing too. I would love for Henry to come back and do something else. But if I hire you guys again to you have a vision, I want you to do your vision. All right, well, listen, to be honest with you, our vision, it doesn't include this guy. Like, we love him, but what we want to do doesn't include him.
I don't think that Ben Affleck works for the Batman they're doing, and I love Ben Affleck. I don't think Henry Cavill works for All-Star Superman, not because of Henry Cavill, but because of our association with his Superman.
It's also 40 years old.
And no matter how he plays him, we're going to see, our brains aren't going to go like, let me erase Man of Steel in this moment, because you're going to remember having his Superman before. So if they do a All-Star Superman, which is beautifully altruistic, which I think the world needs right now, your brain is still going to remember the mustache saga.
No, I don't disagree. But the only thing that I'm very curious, if you're starting with All-Star Superman, which is a story where he eventually, spoiler alert, dies at the end, where do you go from there?
I don't think it's going to be a one-to-one. Like, it's not going to be, I think it's going to be an interpretation of Grant Morrison, not an adaptation of the story. They were very clear to say they're making Supergirl the woman of tomorrow. They were very clear to also mention All-Star is part of what? Like, shaping it. Like, they use different language. James was very clear about. So I'm not worried about them being like, you get one Superman.
That's the only thing for like half a second, because even with the title Legacy, there is a level of like, putting the Ring of Honor type situation, and I don't know. You definitely don't want to be like Gods and Monsters, and Superman's in and he's out.
Right.
I mean, he's definitely an OP. Like, he's an overpowered character to the point where I'm wondering how they're going to use him. Because like in the comics,
Supergirl.
well, in the comics, 100%, but she's going to be in space.
Well, it's the only thing, by the way.
It's a struggle.
It's the only one that they announced, though, that has like a beacon of actual hope, even though they said that the character is going to seem more like that Christopher Reeve Superman that we knew from, or what Superman is in general, right? In a world where it's essentially putting him in today's world is interesting to me. That's part one. But all the other movies that they announced does seem a little bit more in the darker area, a little bit more of the kind of the dire stuff, and more in the James Gunn sensibility stuff, right? The one that there's tons of them that sound interesting, but I'll tell you the one that I think, if done correctly, is the smartest. And what do you think? Knowing me, in the business, what do you think I think is the smartest? Not necessarily the one I'm looking for. The one I'm looking forward to the most is Superman, but the smartest.
Swamp Thing for you.
What we think of the smartest movie is?
Yeah, the smartest movie or TV show. What's the smartest decision that they made if done correctly?
I'm gonna say Paradise Lost.
It's a great one, but Swamp Thing, and I'll tell you why.
How come?
He's a multidimensional boy.
It's not just here's the reason why. And I said this the other day. So for Swamp Thing, but it's got to be done the right way. If they approach it like Black Adam, wrong way, right? And that means here's a movie that is going to already, we're announcing it's going to be a horror movie, and more so than Doctor Strange or anything. This is going to be a horror film. If you look at Slither and all this stuff, this is going to be a horror film. If this movie costs anything more than $60 to $70 million, mistake. You make this movie like Blumhouse, and you make this a $40 million movie, then you're making a lot of money.
Practical effects, man.
Practical effects,
did.
and they even said it in the announcement. They said it in the announcement that it'll be part of the DCU, and you'll see how it connects. But it's a horror movie, and if you can take what they did for Megan or for any of these movies, and take that kind of idea of let's turn this into a little bit of a horror
Start
film.
printing money like
that's the
Blumhouse
smartest.
does.
If they do it this way, what I've always said about Terminator, if they went back to Terminator and made it like 1984, if they did that for this movie, it could really work out.
And DC has so much horror. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Do you think, you mentioned Blumhouse, do you approach them as a partnership for the film?
You don't need them. You don't need them.
Well, only in the sense that, has Warner Brothers done a good job with small?
They didn't have
horror
James
films?
Gunn before, who did Slither.
And look at Blumhouse usually hires the hottest upcoming directors and then lets them do their thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the strength of Blumhouse is they have a long leash. I think they really let their creators do a thing.
Yeah,
I think James Gunn is going to be smart enough to let people have a long leash. Did you see who I tweeted about that might be doing the movie?
You tweet a
James
lot.
Mangold.
That's what so it's fun. I did.
confirmed.
You did.
12:01. He posted it. 12:02. I posted
I'm glad
it.
you brought that up. Yeah, Mangold would be very interesting, and I think that it's also something for Mangold after he jumps off of like that. The only thing that makes me nervous about I love James Mangold, and I know I am in the unpopular opinion that I would much prefer James Mangold to do the new Indiana Jones, who is doing it, than Steven Spielberg doing it, because I love Steven Spielberg, but I think those days for him I don't think he loves it as much as he does.
I don't think he'd have
like
the passion
Fableman.
Mangold will.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think that Mangold, the problem is coming off of Indiana Jones, is he going to want to do that kind of plan that I just mentioned?
He might be like someone. I know a lot of directors that do the big one, then they want the small one.
That's what I mean.
So I'm hoping he wants.
But the difference is, if you're now playing in a camp, and especially if that movie makes the kind of money we think it is, if you're playing in that kind of camp, well, my last movie, they just gave me $180 million to make this movie.
I mean,
and it made 500, 600 or whatever, or $700 million. Why you guys give me what? 40 to make
Look
this?
at what Joss Whedon did after Age of Ultron. He did Avengers, then Age of Ultron. It's like, I don't want to touch a big movie. I'm going to film something in my house in black and white. He did that. What's it called? That Shakespeare adaptation, Much Ado About Nothing, for like $6.
I'll tell you.
And then like the Moon Knight directors, they literally did like a movie starring themselves next. Like, I think you want to run away from Marvel for $6, and it's comfier. Like, you have that freedom.
I'll tell you who's going to be doing something for James Gunn for sure. Just I thought it would have been this, but if Mangold is it, I think it's going to be. I think Dave Yarovesky will do. Dave Yarovesky and
I recognize his face.
He directed Brightburn.
Oh, he's definitely on the docket somewhere.
He and Gunn are very close friends.
Yeah,
very close
Let him
friends.
do something. I'm not saying that Mangold wouldn't kill it, but let him.
That's
do it.
what I'm saying. James Gunn produced Brightburn.
Yeah.
So Mangold, give him something in DC. Give him something. But if you are going this approach, the Blumhouse kind of approach, and again, we're making this up. We don't know if they're going to go that way. But if they go down that role, which I think they should, give it to Dave. If Dave gets swamped, Dave can make that budget work,
In
and
my
Dave can do
head,
something
though-
real, and he loves and the horror type stuff too.
Oh, 100%.
That would be
But
great.
can you I can hear the trailer from the producer of Brightburn and Slither and the director of Logan, Swamp Thing. That's a huge comic sell.
And Indiana Jones. dude.
Yeah, but
I know, but you're
comic-wise.
saying comic wise.
Yeah.
But I know, but and I'm not going to complain about it.
Right,
If
right,
Mangold, I love Mangold's one of my favorite directors working today.
I
if
think
not
he's in
my
my top
favorite.
10. Like he's definitely
If not
so
my-
consistent.
I'm so pumped for his Indiana Jones. I cannot
Ferrari
wait.
got more love past the 6 months it came out.
I just think going too big budget with Swamp Thing, if they go like a big budget for Swamp Thing, I think it's a massive error.
I think one of the best things about the slate we haven't talked about yet is when you look at these 10 announcements, most of them can be small to mid budget. And I think that's really smart because if you got Zaslav tightening purse strings everywhere,
You should.
I think that what they're going to
Blockbuster
do.
should be scaled down nowadays anyway.
I think they should start flipping them like houses. Like,
Yeah.
do a $100 million thing, put 50 in marketing, make 500. And like, you're not going to make the billion, but if you make 500 off 150, you're in a better spot more consistently.
Yeah.
You can take bolder swings. I think Swamp Thing is a great example. I think Swamp Thing, I think The Authority, because you can cast celebrities, but the movie can be a little smaller because it's a little more grounded. I think Supergirl is going to be like their Star Wars. I think Supergirl needs like $200 million budget.
Really?
But, oh, dude, it's all space. It's like the scope of the story is part of the beauty of it because there's so many moments that feel like we remember in Guardians when they like found the Eternals the Celestial skull, and there's that sense of like wonder and power. That's like every frame of this comic. So I think that either they should film it on the Void, film it in green screen, or they should just like throw money.
If they
at
do
it.
a $200 million Supergirl, my vote for Isabel May is going to go out the window because there's no chance you're going to put an unknown in a $200 million
Well,
role.
Superman's going to be the banking on his name, so they might need to release Superman first and Supergirl come out soon thereafter.
Yeah,
They
and
were already doing that.
But
though.
yeah,
but
they were.
I'm saying like more of a back-to-back.
Superman,
Oh.
yeah. But I mean,
Like
well, unless
3-4
you,
months
we're,
apart.
depending on where you
No,
introduce.
you don't need to do that.
No, I don't think you don't need to do that necessarily either. But it's just a matter of if you set up the adventure enough the way that like Marvel did, and you set her up to where she's going to be involved in it. You can do it any way you want. I don't know. And there's a lot of questions, and I think going back to the Wonder Woman prequel series, or she's not in it, but it's just about the Amazons, as they on the island. I love the Game of Thrones reference. I love the True Detective reference for the lanterns. It's just a good way to pitch.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed. They're called. I believe the move is called what, comparisons, and it's exactly that. It's like, okay, Paradise Lost. What is it? Okay, it is Wonder Woman meets Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Lanterns. What is it? It's True Detective meets the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
Like you were supposed to make
Alien
people,
Nation.
like look at that crossover. Exactly. You want them to understand what it is as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And that sold me because, like, sure, there were bad seasons of Game of Thrones kind of at the end there. There were very bad seasons of True Detective, but at its peak, if you're bringing in its peak and you just happen to be involving DC, like, you were printing money.
He also was really smart in the presentation to go, comic fans, here's what we're adapting. I said the only thing I wanted out of that presentation was referencing comics because it'll give us that tone, as opposed to like movie fans and TV fans. But then he doubled down and was like, here's the comic reference, here's the TV or movie reference. Everyone understands what we're doing. And if you're invested, you can go buy the comics. So not only is he advertising comics, but you can do the homework if you want and be invested. And he's also giving you a sense of, hey, we're going to go for this world so you can start thinking of it as a shared universe in advance. We're 2 years out, not a frame is shot, not a director is firmly cast.
Right.
And we already know what the shape of half these projects are just verbally. Like, this was a Hall H level announcement in 6 minutes through a screen.
It was. And speaking of which, so before we move on, when we come back from, I want to talk about BetterHelp in a second, but when we come back, I want you guys start thinking about like when we will start getting announcements for directors and actors, and who will we start to hear from first. And I guess that also goes into that whole release of what we think's coming out, and we'll get into the Amanda Waller series and all that. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know about our sponsor, BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/bigthing. and get on your way to being your best self. I'm so excited that BetterHelp is back. You guys know when we were with SEN, we were doing SEN Live, BetterHelp was with us, and we really, really were such major fans and so pumped to know that they are coming back to be with Big Thing. If you're at your best, you can do great things. And sometimes life gets you bogged down and you can feel overwhelmed, like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. I can tell you right now that this was the case for me. I've talked about this not too long, about a year ago. I was in that headspace. I was there, and I remember I'll be honest, BetterHelp, and it helped me tremendously. I've talked about it. And, just you get into that rut. Working with a therapist, it can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. It helped me. Be able to talk to somebody, and I've mentioned this in the past. I've been in places when I've decided not to talk to people, and I got myself in trouble from doing it. I didn't talk to anybody. I let things bottle up inside. Don't do it. Because I'm telling you, when you talk to somebody, it helps. It really, really does help. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, it's flexible, it's affordable, and it's entirely online. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and then switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/bigthing today and you get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/bigthing. Thanks again to BetterHelp, our sponsor for today's show. Browse around, man. It really help you out. And I know a lot of times you need someone to talk to. This is a very convenient way to do it. Go and check out BetterHelp. The link is in the description. Okay, as I mentioned before we went to the break there, they're going to start announcing directors. They're going to start announcing people. I think Dave Yervesky is going to be announced for something. I mean, I just think he's going to be announced for something. I mean, they're really good friends. He did a great job on Brightburn. He's a really good director. I've had a chance to meet Dave a few different times too. He's a great guy, and I think he knows acting, he knows directing really well. I think he's going to do something with James.
If not Swamp Thing, like you mentioned, I could see him, if it really is going True Detective, taking on like a Lantern,
an episode of Lanterns,
or like being like maybe the showrunner on it, if it's something he's
I don't know if he's going to be a
interested
showrunner though, man. A director. I mean, to direct and then show running a whole show.
But the same way that James Gunn took on Peacemaker. So essentially, he's treating it like a cut up movie.
I know. I think that Dave is Dave's really talented director, but he doesn't have the experience James got. James took over Peacemaker after doing 2 Guardians movies and everything too, and I don't think Dave's not at the scale yet to do that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think
I feel you. I mean, has he done movies other than Brightburn?
Yeah, he's done a ton of different things. He's and a lot of horror stuff, and he got niche types. Him and James have like a lot of the same kind of sensibilities and like their horror elements.
I get it. I guess it's just specifically because I know that Peacemaker wasn't thought of as a limited series, but like limited series stuff, because like I think WandaVision, like yes, it is technically still a TV show, so things shift a little bit, but they operate like just longer films. You know what I'm saying? And you just find that natural kind of cut versus I'm doing a TV show.
Well, so Dave Yarovesky has done, let's see, he obviously did Brightburn. He did The Hive. He did Night Books. I think The Hive was the one that I spoke to him about when he was on Movie Threesome with me and Tiffany. But Brightburn, Guardians of the Galaxy, Inferno, he did the music video there. He did a lot of music videos. He did something. Is there
anything on the writing? Lord. Is there anything on the writing element? I know you're looking at the director stuff.
Let's see. Writer. Yeah, he did
like writer producer.
Did the Hive
so
Guild.
It's kind of the same stuff.
Yeah, okay. I don't think he's ready for show running a show just yet. But again, who knows?
You know who I want them to bring over?
Yeah,
Andy Muschietti. If The Flash is this good, if they're literally willing to go through this many hoops, and they're saying that it's the best thing since Dark Knight, and I know that's a hyperbole at this point in the industry, but I think Muschietti should be someone that would be maybe running Green Lantern or doing the Superman movie.
The reason why I think Muschietti will definitely be doing something with them is what Gunn tweeted out about Muschietti and saying that it was I think he said something like it was like one of the best superhero movies
he's ever seen.
I mean that's and for Gunn to say that
I know.
In a movie that's not part of his DCU,
and for him to say it when it's complicating his life,
100%. So that's part one, and then part two he specifically mentioned Muschietti inside of that and saying what he has done with it. So I think that's also hey, it's a political thing as well. Going, hey, we want to give this guy his props because we don't know what the hell we're doing with this movie afterwards. Let's bring this guy into the fray. I think you're 100% right.
Everything I've heard about the movie is praising Muschietti, to a person. Yeah. Everything I've heard, and back when Mama was coming out, which was 10 years ago now. Mama. I talked to him about comic books back in the Mama days. So 10 years ago, he was excited about comic book movies.
Right,
the fact that he didn't get one for another 8 years, and now he's had all of this go on with it, I think he would want to have something with a little less controversy attached.
Yeah.
So staying in-house, I think that's the move.
Bro, this has to be the greatest superhero movie at this point, based off of not only the drama with Ezra, but all of the hype that every single person that's seen it has been like, this is the greatest thing I've ever, like, to the point where I'm now getting nervous.
Right.
Next Sunday, Super Bowl trailer.
Can it be that good?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because if it is not,
right,
then there's a certain level of like, if y'all don't shut your
It's like when No Way Home was coming out, and I was like, I'm getting too hyped. Like, I was getting a little worried coming to like November. I was like, there's no way. And then I watched it. I was like, oh, okay, good. I can actually be this excited.
It's also a win-win though for Gunn.
Oh yeah,
because like if it's not good, it's good. You don't like it, fine. Don't worry about it. It's like has nothing to do with us anymore.
It's literally what I think
over.
Aquaman is. I think Aquaman being in December, Aquaman is literally like, hey, I love you, Momoa, and if it doesn't do well, you're Lobo. The meeting at Warner Brothers could have been like, hey, this doesn't clear $700 million, you're Lobo. If it does, you're staying Aquaman. Like he might just have an investment no matter what.
Right.
And I honestly think that that's the benefit for all these actors is I know it's complicated. I know there's a lot of people mad that Gunn works with his friends, but Gunn also works with everyone. It's just his friends are in multiple things because they work well together. So I think it's going to be really tricky when casting comes out. That's the thing I'm more curious about is I think directors like Muschietti and like the guy that did Brightburn, those are almost guaranteed. But which actors that we know, like Guardians actors only wanted to stay at Marvel for Gunn,
Booster
who are
Gold.
we going to hear?
Well, let's talk about Booster Gold. I don't think Pratt comes
I don't
in.
think so, but it's funny that he would work.
If Pratt wasn't Star-Lord, I think it's almost a guarantee that he would have gotten. People are talking about Glenn Powell, man.
I like Handsome McHandsomestein from Game
Maverick. He's from
yeah.
He's kind of
interesting.
He's my Hal Jordan.
If you're gonna do that, I do like Glenn Powell, but if you're going to do that just from the douchebag, I know he played a good douche in Maverick, but I actually see Teller being able to do that a little better than
Booster
Powell.
Gold. I don't know. I think Powell's perfect.
I think Powell's Hal Jordan. He's already got the flight license.
I think, but he's just done 2 flight movies. He did
Put him in
Devotion, and
I like Devotion too.
Yeah, but I think that he's got more of a look from what I've seen in the comics for Booster Gold. He's got more of that kind of Hollywood kind of look than Miles Teller is kind of like,
he's a guy.
He's just a guy.
Jonathan Majors is John Stewart. Glenn Powell is Hal Jordan. Put him back in the sky.
And I think Miles Teller is too well known right now. Whereas Glenn Powell is still like, wait, who?
Yeah.
You say Miles Teller, everyone knows Miles Teller. Glenn Powell is on the precipice of being that.
Who's the guy from Game Night? The blonde guy that
I know exactly who you mean.
Exactly Booster Gold. He's got that
that's a great call.
Smile,
that's a great call.
The coif of hair.
That's a great call.
He's a bit of a douche in movies.
He's been in other stuff too. But
he's so talented. He's right on the cusp.
I'm gonna get his name because that's
he's my Booster Gold.
Game Night. What,
dude? He look at this guy and tell me he's not Booster Gold.
He is fantastic. He's a
really
good call.
He's also such good comedic genius. He's good for long form for TV. And honestly, I think that he's the guy that's been almost a breakout for like 5 years.
He played somebody in something recently. Come on.
I honestly, this is one of my favorite casting moments. Billy Magnuson.
Yeah, Billy Magnuson.
This dude.
And he was also, what was he in recently?
Look at that face.
Oh, he would be perfect.
Look at his glasses.
Gold. I remember. What else was he in? Oh, No Time to Die. That's what it was. He was in No Time to Die.
His smarm is, I can feel it.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of things coming out. He's got he's Harley Quinn and the Joker.
Hey,
Sound Mind.
He's in house.
He's in house. He's going to be in Roadhouse, but he's in. He was in The Offer. He was in Woke. He was in No Time to Die. He was in The Many Saints of Newark. That's right. He's Paulie Walnuts. He's Paulie Walnuts. I knew he was in something. He was Paulie Walnuts in The Many Saints of Newark. And he was.
Oh, he was one of the princes in Aladdin.
Oh, that's right.
He was such a dude.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah. But
dude, he's perfect.
because I just watched that with my little one. That's great. That's great. As much as
right point, right level of his career,
and really good.
He could do it for 5 years.
Go ahead and tweet that out right now.
Yeah, I think it's perfect.
I did. I tweeted at James Gunn. I never do the casting choices thing, but for Isabel May, I was like, Isabel May for Supergirl. And I got a lot of people who are like, that's a great call. I got some people who are like, why are you going to recast if you already have Supergirl? I'm like, if they're going to recast, take it easy. No one's saying it. Because everyone was like, why do you want to take a Latina girl out of the thing? I'm like, if she's great, keep her in.
Yeah.
If they're going to not recast, then don't recast her. If she's the best one for the role, then absolutely she should lead the movie.
Yeah.
100%. I haven't seen her. I'm telling you, if they recast, this is someone they should consider.
Dude,
as
I made
well.
a 9-second TikTok fan casting for fun because I really liked him in Umbrella Academy. The half Romani, half Irish actor, Aidan Gallagher, who I think would be perfect 5 years ago. He's a little old now, but like Aidan Gallagher in Umbrella Academy is Damian Wayne. And he's half Romani, half Irish. The amount of people that are like, you white boy that only wants white people. And I was like, I don't want to come back with like why I think he is because you guys are all so angry. But I got like 40,000 views on this TikTok. And I'm like, I don't want to get controversy to feed my stuff. But that's how the internet works. And it was so sad to see like people anger fueling this thing.
I think it goes for both sides. It's like you get the bigots that like if you suggest someone, a person of color, you suggest someone saying that's not true to the character. Like if the person is a good actor and can bring out the essence of the character, who gives a shit? And it's got to go both ways, though.
When
it's
I said Sterling K. Brown for Superman because he is Clark and Superman, the amount of crap I got because but that's what I'm saying. Both sides are mad at me. Like,
100. It's got to go both ways. It's like there could still if you suggest someone for the role, it's like, well, why is it got to be a white person? If it's the right person for the role, depending and look, but there also should be times that you should consider. Everyone's like, oh, the person was always white. They should be white. No. It's like, who is the right
who's
person
got the essence
for
and their point their career business-wise and all of it.
This isn't a superhero thing, but that's why it was so wild to me that people took such like umbrage to Haley from Chloe Haley to be the Little Mermaid because it is clearly these people have A, never seen her act, and B, never heard her sing.
She can sing.
She is one of the greatest singers of a generation.
She brought the house down at D23.
That was one of the biggest moments of the entire
It was fantastic,
weekend.
and she had the essence of the character. And guess what? If you don't like this version of the character, then watch the animated one. You still got the animated one. It's like if they saw everybody and they said, this is the girl who brings in the essence of Ariel, then that's fine. Then it works. Now, you're also allowed to say, when you're watching it, I don't know if that seems like the same type of thing I liked about Ariel. That I didn't like her performance. You're allowed to say that, and if you say it the right way, then you can say it in a way that you're not being racist. You're being someone who doesn't like the performance. Now, if you say it because, oh, Ariel's not black. Well, then you're being a bigot.
Right.
And I've been fully terrified of even saying like he's half Romani, half Irish, because I don't know enough about like what it means to be Romani. Like I know it's Southeast Asian, but like I literally don't know enough, so I'm afraid of someone being like, well, that's this way of racist. So I'm just like silently
just
like,
silly...
I think he's good because he's talented.
It's just, well, that's the same thing. Like I said when I said Isabel May for Raw, the majority of people that were like, oh, that's interesting casting, it could be really good, and other people are like, why do you need another white person in there? I'm like, I'm telling you, just one of the actors to be considered.
Yeah.
Just someone to be considered. And if, once again, and give me the actress again who's playing Supergirl in
Sasha Call, I think her last name is.
And again, if we see Sasha Call and she is just the best, and they're like, and they clearly set up, this is how she's going to return and it makes sense, and they're keeping her. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Give me a Sasha Cowell Supergirl movie, and when it comes out, let's do it. If she's the right one for the role, and she's going to kick ass the way people think she is, 100%. But it's okay to suggest anyone if they're right for the role.
So here's another thing that's very interesting. Just since we're talking about casting and all this kind of stuff, it's very interesting that Safran then further doubled down about Batgirl, like the day after.
Right.
Yeah. And how
I was so surprised at how
I was too, especially with it being like, hats off to Zaslav here. This was like, and the one thing he emphasized, but it wasn't in the headlines, but he did say it in the quote.
Just give a little more history to people so they don't know.
So for anybody that's not aware of, Batgirl was being filmed. It was originally going to be streaming, and then it was going to go to theaters, and then Zaslav last year pulled the plug.
Without releasing it, instead for a tax credit.
Right, just for the tax credit. Everybody's pretty upset, especially because you're like, okay, you have a woman of color playing Batgirl. You have all this kind of interesting elements being there. So they're like, what's going on here? So you had multiple people, some being like, we're proud of our work, but a lot of people being like, it's not great. So Safran, the day after the Gunn announced, so Wednesday, then had an interview that came out about how he was like, Zaslav was correct to pull this movie. And the main thing that he kept like emphasizing was it wasn't just the tax credit thing. This actually helped a lot of the people involved.
He said it would have hurt.
If it had come out, it would have hurt everyone.
Yes.
And I think that in and of itself, this is why I was so upset with Zaslav and the way that played out. If you do not have the wherewithal to let people know that, you just look like the asshole that canceled a Latina black girl that happened to be coming out right now, but yet other things are still in the works. If you let people know, look, I'm not trying to ish on people, but this movie would not do good things for the directors. It would not do good things for the
I don't think he's got that kind of
bedside manner we talked about.
He's got terrible bedside manner.
I-
He does, and I agree with that's probably what should have been done. But I don't think he also has the wherewithal to say at the point like, well, who are they going to listen to me? Like Safran comes out as the head of DC and says honestly, basically in brass tacks, this is a bad movie. Yeah. Like this is a bad movie, and right before it was the right decision, right? And it's like I don't call him Zoloft anymore because his decisions lately have been good. The way that he's running it and the way that he's trying to recoup a lot of losses and stuff, it's good. I still think he's got a really bad bedside manner, but I think that he's also done the right thing and things that I think other companies should do is like, okay, look, because of what you just said, I got to stop trying to do that. I need people who can do that for me. And so what should have been said that ultimately was said by Safran was because Zaslav put someone in place that would say that. Now, granted, if had that Safran been there when all this was going on or in play, maybe then the next day Safran was the one who said.
Honestly, I think that's a benefit of the Safran Gunn combo is their bedside manner is both great. Like Gunn, we talk about all the time being a great showman. He was great on camera. I loved his excitement with each post. Like he was like, "Hey, we're doing Supergirl." Like he was a kid in a candy store. And then you've got Safran, who is a more reserved producer. Who's I don't know if you've ever seen Safran speak. He's so glowy with excitement, but he's more like he's calm while being exuberant. So I like that Gunn and Safran have different energies. So you've got Zaslav like being like cold, but then you've got these two guys that are like, let's make some art.
But that's why
I think that's what balances.
But that's why I give Zaslav credit because it's like
he hired the two right people.
Because he hired people that didn't have to do it because now you notice over when that Batgirl stuff was happening, all that everyone's focus was on that guy. No one's talking about him now. Right. And he doesn't want people talking about him. They're talking about Gunn. They're talking about Safran. That was the smart move by him.
And knowing what we now know, that got canceled, last summer, right?
Yeah, something like that.
You were already in talks to lock down Gunn and Safran, and at some point somebody was going to be able to take...
Not at that point. Oh no, Safran and Gunn came out late, dude. They had Todd Phillips in line before them, and that happened. The Batgirl stuff happened before even.
The Batgirl happened in July, right?
Yeah, they didn't lock Safran and Gunn down until
they weren't even talking to them yet.
No, I think they were talking.
I mean, maybe, but not in serious talk as far as them running it.
How about this? It's not that you specifically had Gunn and Safran in mind. You had in mind that you were going to put a DC studio head in place and they'd be in charge of doing this. I think what's happening at that time, you don't have time to wait for that to cut Batgirl for the otherwise the tax thing's probably not going to happen.
Right.
So you just have to make the hard cut. But I think that's the big thing. I think it's very smart of him to have hired the right people to say the things that need to be said and do the things that need to be done. It's just, I guess if you're in an emergency situation, you just have to do the things you have to do. He just looks so bad. He was killing a lot of stock for a minute.
Yes, because that's not his strength, and he knew that. That's why I give him. And if you go back and you watch, especially me, I went hard on him, right? But it's again, I hate always doing this to where you bring it back to like the Star Wars and Lucasfilm. It's like the thing that I wish, and I know that it's a different because Zaslav is essentially where Iger is. That's the two, but in comparison to like Kennedy runs as the president of Lucasfilm. I wish that Kennedy would do what Zaslav is doing for the creative and all that kind of stuff. But instead, she just keeps on taking all these things and the same stuff keeps happening as opposed to where Zaslav makes this move inside of Batgirl, does the things where we all agree did it poorly
done,
but then goes, I don't want to do this anymore like this. I can't do this. I got to make the moves and I got to be the one running around doing all this other stuff.
And he did it up front. He right at the top went, let's cut our losses.
I got to make the thing. I can't explain why I did it. I need someone else to explain why I did it. And then, hey, Safran was probably on the lot watching that screening,
right?
Going, woof, this is brutal.
Yeah.
Right? You can't put this out.
Oh God, I just realized who Kathleen Kennedy and what Lucasfilms with Star Wars has been. They're the goddamn Dallas Cowboys.
Maybe, right.
She's very Jerry Jones with it, where I want to have my hand in every single thing. And sometimes you have bangers. Sometimes you end up with an Andor or a Mandalorian, and then you end up with the sequel trilogy in the playoffs, and you just blow it.
Right, or Boba Fett.
Also, who knows how long James Gunn had to pitch to get all this locked in, and if the Bat family's coming, then Batwoman, that would be a mess. Batgirl with Barbara Gordon, with all those things. And if they're trying to clean up continuity, they're already worried about the 4 films they have coming out. If you've got also a member of the Bat family that's soft introducing that expanded world, because the cleanness of Batman right now is we haven't had a Bat family since Chris O'Donnell was Robin, other than on TV with Titans. We haven't had him. So right now, the main thing people have been lobbying for is Bat family. Everyone's been wanting Robin. If you watch the Batman commentary, everyone was like, Pattinson should get a Robin. Everyone wants the Robin. So you've got dark and gritty Batman with Pattinson. What's the best way to keep those things separate? Have a lighter Batman. The thing we didn't talk about was Damian Wayne being so dark actually kind of makes Bruce a little lighter. So that's a Bruce that'll fit in with the Justice League better. Whoever they cast, that's going to mesh in that world better.
You are going to have an older Batman with a younger Superman.
So and that'll be interesting because it'll probably be 5-10 years, but I've seen that conversation. But what's interesting to me is that if we'd had a Bat family soft introduced with Batgirl and then a year later announce a Bat family this way, it might have cost us Nightwing. It might have cost us Damian Wayne. It might have cost us that expanded world. And then that'd be way more complicated with the side world of Pattinson. So I think long-term, good move. Short-term, messy.
I also think because you've introduced, you're doing a Supergirl movie, the title of Superman is Superman Legacy. I know we're mainly pulling from All-Star. And then you have Batman the Brave and the Bold, which a lot of times will tap other heroes, not necessarily the Bat family, but you could always pivot that way. I feel like you have a situation for Damian to come along. You kind of need the other Robins and Batgirl to have been there in order to, if you're doing Legacy like that and you're bringing in Supergirl, there's nothing to stop you from bringing in the various Kryptonians that might be involved too. And you're kind of introducing the families because you're right. It's both the Bat family and even the Supes family that people have wanted for a minute. And I think that that's a nice way that you can kind of give people that, give little homages, but then you can set other stuff up in the future.
I also think Superman's going to be in his mid-20s because he's already working at the Daily Planet. He's already dating Lois, it seems like. There's a Jimmy Olsen relationship. I think he's going to be established, just not in his 40s. And then I think Batman's probably going to be 30 because Damian Wayne's 8. So if you've got
they're not going to make Damian 8. There's no chance. They're
going to
make
10.
I bet you make him 15.
Really? Well, I mean, part of it is how young he is, because it's
the only reason you would literally need to try and go find a Grace Metz and get, because she was about 12 when she did that, but she was playing like an 8 or 9 year old. You kind of almost need to do that, because if the point is to do this in the long term, you know how fast kids grow. If you make them 15, and Damian typically is a mid to young teenager.
It's going to be interesting. All right, look, there's so much. We really could talk about this for another 3 hours, but like, there's so many things that we talked about here, and there might be a lot of stuff that we missed out on. What did you guys think overall of any of the topics that we talked about today? Make sure that you comment and let us know your thoughts on all this stuff and more. Before we get out of here, I just want a reminder again that you can get those tickets with myself and John and Greg. Links in the description, and also myself and Brett, we're going to be performing stand-up comedy at Flappers, both at Flappers, February 13th, 8 p.m. for that one. Links in the description. Don't forget about Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere videos are found. Check that out. Patreon.com. Get yourself one of those shirts. For the guys, Winston, where can they find you?
You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred. That's all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. Just having a good time, doing a lot of really fun stuff. And I got we'll be doing the Bel Air Season 2 weekly review over there with my Matt Thomas as well. So come say what's up.
Coy Jandreau.
I just been growing my own YouTube page trying to actually listen to Christian, so check out at Coy Jandreau. I think that's how TikTok and Twitter and all that work. It's just my name on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and I'm probably going to be at MegaCon Orlando, so if you guys are in Florida at the end of next month, I will be there, and just find me on the internet. I'm so excited about this announcement. I just put out a every comic you should read if you like that announcement, so it's like 2 or 3 comics per announcement, so there's like 30 books in 2 videos on my YouTube, so if you want to read some comics, I got you.
Well, you're supposed to bring me that Batman comic, and you didn't do it. All right.
Oh, I forgot that, and pizza.
That's for pizza's soon. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. And make sure you get those tickets to that live event over at Flappers, because if it's successful and we sell it out, we're going to try to take that one on the road, and that will also couple up with the big thing and the things that we're going to do on the road also. So as we get to the road of 70,000, we need you guys. Look, we're almost, look at that. Boom. Just like that. Yeah. We just keep getting it up there. We need you guys to help us out. Thanks again for joining us on Capes and Cowls. For myself and Winston and Coy, we'll see you on the flip side, everybody. Peace out.
The Top Gun guy?
Yep, the Top Gun guy.